Yeah, I want to say welcome to everyone on this call. Welcome to the Nape YP Career Development Workshop 2023. We've tagged this month the month of career development. So we started last week where um, we had like two different segments of the session, and we had highly experienced people in the industry on a panelist session, and we had different conversations. And before then, we had Dr. Wasio Dufiso, who is an independent consultant, talk to everyone on the call about crafting a compelling CV and resume that stands out from the crowd. And today, we would have Mr. Ifeanyi Eze, who is a scholarship expert and academic writer, give us like an overview of what to expect in wanting to pursue our postgraduate studies. And on that note, I would want to, I don't know if the president of if the Nape YP lead is on the call, if Flora is on the call to just give us like an opening remark so that we can comment immediately. Okay. All right. She's not on the call. Ifeanyi, I don't know. Ifeanyi is I know I saw your video on at some point during doing a test run, but can you confirm that you're on the call?
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Ifeanyi. So I'll call on you very soon. Again, like I said, this month is tagged the career develop a month for career development workshop for the young professionals of Nape, and we have divided it. We are going to be having like different sessions for every Saturday in this month for 3 Saturdays in actual fact, because the last Saturday was supposed to have a mentors hangout. And we commenced with this last week Saturday where we had like two different segments of the session. The first session was more like on a topic on crafting a compelling CV and resume, and then today we'll be doing something in the line of how to write your way in getting admission, scholarship, and grants in any field. And we've invited a scholarship expert and academic writer in person of Mr. Ifeanyi Eze. So before we comment, let me just read out the profile of Mr. Ifeanyi Eze. And Ifeanyi, just to confirm, do you have anything to share from your end?
Yes, I have a slide.
Okay. All right. So yes, I want to welcome all of you to this session on behalf of the Nape YP, the leadership team of the Nape YP led by Flora and Usiobi. I want to officially welcome you all to this call. And to comment, I would just pull up the brief profile of Mr. Ifeanyi Eze. Ifeanyi Eze is a graduate student of applied geography at Georgia Southern University in the United States of America. His research integrates geophysical techniques and computer modeling to characterize the dynamics of submarine groundwater discharge in Florida Bay. He is currently undergoing training in geospatial cyber infrastructure and is passionate about artificial intelligence for geoscience, GeoAI. Ifeanyi is actively mentoring his peers and young professionals on how to leverage scholarships for capacity development, and this is one of the ways in which he does so. He completed his undergraduate studies in applied geophysics from Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome our speaker for today, Mr. Ifeanyi Eze, who will be speaking to us on how to write your way into getting admissions, scholarship, and grants in any field. Ifeanyi, the floor is yours. Ifeanyi, if you're speaking, you're muted.
Thank you. Okay, I want to specifically thank the organizers of this meeting and for allowing me the opportunity to be the speaker. Most of NAPE, YP workshop and conferences I've attended, I was listening. So today I think it's my turn to speak, and it's a great privilege, I think. And thank you all for giving me the opportunity. I'm going to share my slides quickly, and I would like us to have more of an interaction. So we can, that would be better, I think.
Yeah, sorry, just before you continue, I also need to mention that if along the way anyone has any question, you can drop them in the chat box, or when it's time or after the presentation, you can use the raise hand option and you'll be called upon to ask your questions.
Okay, I believe you can see my slide.
Yeah, it's loading. Okay, yes, we can see now.
Thank you. Okay, I titled the talk, Write Your Way In, and that includes admission, scholarship, grants, and whatever that has to do with academic writing that can change your maybe level or change your academic stand or bring you to a better level that you want to go to, okay? Okay, it's all about moving to a different country whenever we talk about writing for admissions. Most of us wish to study abroad, and I would also like us to kind of talk about it a little bit. You know, people still have some challenges behind the whole Jabba stuff. You know, some people think it's brain drain, you know, the smartest brain are leaving the country, and they're going to add to the other country's economy. And I want to kind of hear your opinion about it. So I would like us to talk. What do you feel about the whole Jabba? Does it feel like some call it Japa syndrome, some call it bandwagon, whatever, and some feel they don't need to jump the bandwagon and stuff like that. What do you feel about it? I would like maybe people who have actually Japad and those who wish to join them. What do you feel about it? Do you feel it is actually brain gain? Because when I competed at IBA, most of the judges, they all tell you they are trained from Harvard, they are all trained from Cambridge, Oxford University in UK. So some see it as brain gain because the smart Nigerians are moving out to get trained at the best of the best universities to come back to Nigeria to add to our human development. So I wish to hear from you. Do you think it's brain gain or brain drain? Uh, do you how do you feel about the whole process? I'll need to hear from you, maybe two persons.
Ifeanyi, I think there's a response already in the chat box.
I can't see the chat though.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So Mary says it's a brain gain.
Okay. Do we have more persons speaking?
Yes, Samuel Pokola also says it's a brain gain.
And not drain.
So Emmanuel Joy Dara says it's a brain gain. So you have 3 brain gains.
Probably the ones that wish to jabba. Okay, so out of the whole jabba stuff, I think it has to do with mindsets because after people consider people who have companies consider it as brain drain because as we witnessed some time ago that those tech guys that are working for banks in Nigeria, most of them have traveled to Canada and some of their apps are no longer working perfectly. So we also feel that there's some part of brain drain that will return back as brain gain. And it's about training the youth of Nigeria who are also going to return back in one way or the other, or even if they didn't return, they will still be sending money home, to encourage their young ones, which can, I think at the end of the day, it's brain gain. So having that mindset, the top countries that people wish to go to, mostly from the surveys that has been carried out, I'm sorry I couldn't bring the reference here, Canada stands as the top priority for people, and Europe, then United States, for obvious reasons. And we are going to be talking about that soon. Why you should listen to me? I want to say I'm not in any graduate school board. Um, so I'm speaking from my own experience. Why I graduated in 2018 and spent 4 years doing other things, but because I thought scholarship is not for me. I didn't have the mentorship, I didn't have the guidance. So I graduated with, I would say, a good result, but I thought scholarship was just for first class students. I didn't make first class. So I just left it and started doing other things. But when some people I saw that this is possible, then I started to put my interest, and I got a fully funded scholarship by the US Environmental Protection Agency, where I'll be working with some teams from Georgia Southern University and Florida International University to look at the groundwater dynamics in Florida Bay and how that affects the benthic ecosystem. And through my experience, I've helped others to seek admission, not just in US, but across the world. And Sean has introduced me. So I think from my experience, it will help those who think that scholarship is not for them. And probably I can help some people to change that notion that you can actually get scholarship with 2-1, you can get scholarship with 2-2. It all depends on how you present your case. And if you are looking at scholarships and funding, as we call it, you should try to start looking at the countries that can give it to you, because if you are writing for countries that can't give it to you, that they don't have it, it's just like someone who is writing to UK universities to fully fund them for their masters. If you're not coming through Commonwealth or Chevening, it is rare for any UK university to fully fund you. Okay, so if you are looking for scholarship, your top priority should be US, Canada, and Germany. And obviously, those countries within the um, Scandinavian nations, because they usually fund their masters and PhD students. Okay, why should you care about what I'm talking about? Because from this slide, you can see here, I pulled it from Princeton University, and you can see from these applicants, the blue line is the applicants, while the orange line is the admits, while the red line is the yield. So you can see that the number of application is extremely high. And this is for PhD and masters. So in the year 2021 to 2022, Princeton University received 14,000 applications. And out of those applications, only 1,268 was admitted. And the ones that could matriculate is less than 8,000. So what that shows you that, guys, this is competitive. Applications are very, very competitive. And the only thing you need to do is try to embrace the competition. I hear a lot of people say they're not in competition with anybody. Probably they've not applied for graduate admission, and they've not applied for funding. By the time you start doing those things, you find out that you're actually in competition with a lot of people from China, India, Bangladesh, all over the world, people from US, people from Europe, looking for the same funding that you are interested in. Because of course, nobody wishes to spend their money for their graduate studies, because it costs a lot of money. Okay, so this is competitive, and you just need to know that it is competitive. Okay, so this is for Princeton University. The next is from Padua University. I don't know if it's Padua or Padua. So from this statistics here, this is, I put this up from the Department of Earth Sciences, which is the department that involve us. They say they can admit only 22% of their applicants. And last year, 124 applied for their master's and PhD. They could only admit 27. So what happened to the 97 others? they couldn't gain admission. Okay, they were rejected. And if you could also see from this slide that has talked about the funding, 96% of them received funding. And this funding in US mostly come in form of fellowship, in form of research assistants, teaching assistants. Okay, fellowship is not gathering of churches or church members. Fellowship actually has to do with some money given to you to do research. Um, it can be in form of one-time offer of money, and it can be a continuous offer of money for you to do a particular research. So I want to say that this is competitive and it is not usually for the poor. Okay, so if you are writing applications, don't project yourself as I'm the poor, I don't have money, please give me money. Nobody will fund the poor. What they give the poor is aid. Okay, if someone is poor, they need aid, not grants, not funding. Okay, so what you need to project yourself as someone who is promising. So all you are going to start doing in your writing, like emphasize your ability to do research, emphasize your ability to add to the community, emphasize your ability to produce things, and not your poverty or financial lack or economic status. Okay, because actually nobody will grant you something important just because you are poor. They will grant you because you are promising. All right. Which writings are required for people who wish to study in US? I will use US as example because US have more funding for international students. From my own perspective, almost every one of us here in this school, when we have Nigerian gatherings, we are almost 40 of us, and almost all of us are funded. I don't know anybody that is not funded. So you find out that it would be difficult to get such things outside the United States that pay your tuition and still grant you monthly stipend to live on. So there are a lot of writings you are going to be doing, and the first one you can do cold emailing and admission correspondence. Cold emailing is you trying to create rapport with the university, with the professors you want to work with, and during that code emailing, you need to start writing. You write to professors, you write to graduate coordinator, you write to a lot of people you will write to. So those writings are part of the things you need to learn how to write. And at the end of this conversation, I'm going to show you an example, and probably we can use that to see how it is written. Then the other writing you need to do is personal statement. Personal statement is a kind of a review of your life. It's just like, tell me about yourself. When you go for interview, they ask you, tell me about yourself. So that's what the admission body want to hear from you. Tell us about yourself, your history, your personal experiences, your struggles that led you to the point where you are and the kind of research you want to do. Probably you had an accident while you were growing up, or you fall into a ditch, and that gave you the idea that you should develop apps for smart cities, or you should develop app for drivers, or kind of something that has to do with the overall personal experiences you passed. It is different from statement of purpose. Statement of purpose is about your intent to do research. What do you want to do academically? What do you want to do in the program of your study? And statement of purpose, you can also write it when you are writing essays for grants, essays for scholarships. Okay, but it is compulsory for every application to graduate school, to master's or PhD, that you write statement of purpose. If you're applying to Erasmus Mundus scholarship, you also see this statement of purpose, okay, and personal statement. The other one is letter of motivation. Usually schools in Europe, they like to call it letter of motivation. If you applied to Swedish Institute scholarship, I applied to that scholarship, so they will ask you to write letter of motivation. What's your motive to study? It is just similar and almost the same as statement of purpose, just that how I prefer to write it, that is still subjective opinion, that when you're writing letter of motivation, add some level of personal statement to it, because you want to tell them about your person and how it led you, like what motivated you. For instance, if you are from Bayelsa and you want to study environmental engineering, environmental science, you can talk about the oil, whatever, that oil spillage that is happening in the environment, and how it has affected your own community, and how that's exactly pushed you to go and study environmental science or whatever, that can lead you to actually play technical parts in cleaning your environment, which has a global impact. Okay, I'm going to talk about that later. And there are other writings like diversity and inclusion statements. When you are applying to schools in Canada and US, you are most likely going to write this statement, because they want to hear your opinion about diversity. What do you think about other people? What do you think about other people's perspective? Okay. Do you discriminate? They just want to hear about your opinion about diversity. Okay. So in such writings, you just have to probably highlight one of the ways you can accommodate people, one of the ways you're a people person. Okay, so that's where you try to talk about your leadership experiences. For instance, you've volunteered for Nape, and during Nape conferences, you've met people from diverse religion, diverse ethnicity and opinions, and you've tried as much as possible to accommodate everybody, because you believe that in diversity, in inclusive opinion is better than stereotypes. So you just have to find a way to show that you are not someone who is segregating. Okay. Another writing that is required for application is writing sample. Okay, the writing sample, schools that request writing sample from you want to see any work you've done before that can attest to the fact that you know how to write academic articles. Okay, for instance, that can be paper, that can be a published paper, that can be 10 paper you did in your school, that can be project reports, that can be your final project. Probably you went for few geology students and you documented the experience and your labs and everything. So that can be your writing sample. Mostly it's not more than 20 pages, depending on the school. When I was trying to apply for California Institute of Technology, they required that. Okay, so they said it should not be more than 20 pages. Baylor University in Texas also required that. So you just need to probably email the graduate coordinator to know the exact documents they want from you. Some can accept media presence. Probably you had an interview that has to do with something related to the industry, something related to academics that you are doing. They can also accept that. You can also write for application fee waiver. That's another thing a lot of people write, because application fee is one of the things that, like you say, burden, because $50, $100 for each school that you are not even sure of, because you pay them the money and you can't gain the admission and they chop your money. Okay, and the money I paid to Louisiana State University is still paying me till now. So I wrote application fee waiver. They say they don't give to international students. Most schools will give you, many schools rather, will give you application fee waiver if you request for it. And in that request, you need to give them a reason why they should give it to you. And one of the reasons is you a promising student, just that it will constitute financial burden on you. Okay, at that time, you can talk about your poverty a bit, but concentrate more on why they should give it to you, because you have something to offer to the school. Another kind of writing people do is out of country, out of state tuition waiver. You need to request, some schools will grant you the opportunity to request out of country tuition waiver, that you don't want to pay as if you're an international student, assuming they didn't give you funding. Okay, some people get admitted without funding, but when they come into the school, they can now apply for some scholarship, for some fellowship and assistantship. So before you are trying to go for visa interview, you can apply for out of country tuition, because In Canada, in US, in UK, international students pay higher than local students. So you can request that you want to be paying as if you're a local student, and it is obtainable in many schools in US. If they review it and find what you are saying to be good, they can grant it to you. So if you receive that from Georgia Southern University, they're going to remove almost $17,000 from your tuition to help you to do that. So that can be a form of aid, a form of grant, a form of funding. Okay, so funding can come in several ways. Okay, I believe last week we've talked about academic CV. Academic CV is usually different from normal CV that you use to find job, because this has to do with your communication about your research, and how the things you put in academic CV is usually about research, your potential to do research, the research publications and outputs you've done, the experiences you have. That's the writings you are going to do. Okay, the question should be, how do I become competitive? Because obviously this is a competitive process, and you are not just competing with people in your class, you are competing with people from all over the world, not just from Nigeria. And the space available is usually small. Okay, so that's why cold email is very important, very, very important, because you need to create a rapport with the professors. In fact, many schools will not admit you if you don't have any professors, if you don't have any professor to work with. Okay, how do I become competitive? To become competitive, you need to, when you are writing your essays, you need to think about the bigger picture. That's the first and the most important, I think, people need to do. You need to think about the bigger picture. What is my research going to solve? What am I bringing to the table? Okay, what do I want to, what am I passionate about? Because they are going to look at that. And I put I put a link where I got this from, because I'm not an authority in this. I got the link from Berkeley, University of California at Berkeley, and Cornell University. These are like the top schools in US, okay? And you need to look at the bigger picture whenever you are writing. Okay, for instance, you want to study groundwater dynamics and how it affects probably the ecosystem. Of course, you need to look at how that problem you want to solve align with the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. You need to always think about the SDGs whenever you are doing any kind of writing. How is my writing going to help the world? How is my writing going to help my local community? And to become competitive, you need to have portfolio. You need to have portfolio. Start documenting your experiences. Start documenting your codes. If you've written code to do something, document it. Don't write code and discard it. If you've done a lab, probably you did sieve analysis and you recorded your data. Include it, because later you may need them. Okay, assuming you want to apply for sedimentology PhD, and you have nothing to talk about. No, you need to talk about that. You've done some sieve analysis, you've done some analysis that has to do with what you want to do. Then you can show evidence, because these days people can say anything. And how you show those evidence is through your portfolio. You can create a GitHub account, and every code you are writing, you are depositing them there, such that whenever you're applying for graduates opportunities, you can always link your GitHub account, so that the person reviewing the applications can go through your GitHub and see what you've done, and not just I can do it. And you can also create websites for yourself. There are several free website tools you can use. You can use Google Sites, it is free. Okay, you can use Google Site to create a website for yourself, and you can use Wix. You can use a lot of free website tools you can use to create a website. So you can also open a repository account to just document your seismic interpretation, your geophysical interpretation, whatever maybe aeromagnetic data you've worked with. just make sure you are documenting your experiences, your labs, your outputs, okay? And the next way to be competitive is to integrate AI in whatever you are doing, because of course it's no longer news that the world is going through a disruption. Computer science is moving into every aspect of learning, okay? Computer science is going everywhere, it's opening all doors. And even in whatever aspect of geoscience you want to go into, or you are deviating away from geoscience, probably you want to go into geo AI, you want to look at computer science, cloud computing. Always look at how do I integrate computer science to what I'm doing, okay? Instead of going to pure computer science, which may be like an evil forest for a lot of us. For me, I can't really go into computer science because it's a very big field. So I want to know how can I just take a chunk of computer science and bring it into geospatial sciences, okay? So you can think about cloud computing. So always think about how to integrate computer science in your work. That will make you stand out as someone who is looking forward to the frontiers of the knowledge you want to work with, okay, to the emerging technologies, and not just stuck in the past. You want to do field mapping, field mapping. How do I, you can always ask yourself, how do I integrate AI to actually do that field mapping without going to the field? The next way to be competitive in your writing, make sure that the result and whatever you want to output there has to do with community. You are community oriented. You want to help people, okay? And don't write that you want to go into graduate school because you are poor, or you want to help your family, you want to make mama proud. That is still selfish. So try to think about the community where you are working on. Probably the whole of Niger Delta is flooded, or the whole of Anambra State, or the whole of your, probably your community is flooded, or waste disposal, or plastic, microplastics, whatever, and you want to solve that problem. Let it be like you are community oriented and not a selfish person. That will make you look more competitive than others who just want to make mama proud, or just be proud of themselves. Okay. And the next way to be competitive is to look at interdisciplinary. All your approach, what we are doing these days is almost everything is interdisciplinary. Okay. And we've seen that most people from the original and traditional geology and geophysics are actually deviating from the original geophysics and geology, just like myself. I deviated from geophysics to geography, looking at geospatial science now. Okay, you find out that I moved entirely from rocks to maps, and I'm now dealing with maps, spatial science, even with public health data. Okay, so you should start thinking about that and not be stuck with rocks. And as we all know, that if you didn't work in the oil and gas industry and you didn't work in mining, most of the geology you've learned, you may not apply them elsewhere. So you should try to think about, how do I um, broaden my opportunities? How do I broaden my competitiveness? Okay, so you can think about interdisciplinary research, like joining geology and biology, joining geology and public health, like people who are going into medical geology, people who are studying groundwater and cancer, people who are studying groundwater and probably population. So you are now going into interdisciplinary. Don't um, hook yourself to a particular field. That will make you competitive, that will make you more versatile, and you meet more people. Okay, I think this is where I want to show example, then I will close, then we can interact. If you have questions, then we can talk that up. This is an example of code email. It is not perfect, but it's one of the code emails I wrote 2 years ago when I gained admission to Michigan Technological University. I gained admission to this school, and I want to work with the professors there, but I couldn't get them. And when your code email is ignored, you wait for the code email for a long time. Okay, whenever you are writing cold email to a professor. I've explained why you need to write cold emails. Most schools will not admit you without a professor that is willing to receive you. One of those schools is Louisiana State University cannot admit the student without a professor, especially in geology, geophysics. They need you to have a professor first that can work with you. Yale University also, you need to email professors. Duke University, you need to email professors. Your target should be R1 schools. If you are looking at US, your target should be R1 schools. Those schools that are designated R1 are those schools that have the most funding. They have the most funding. What you just need to do is to type R1 schools in US. They have the most funding, and like the Ivy League, the all those schools that are top universities, they have a lot of funding. So you should look towards them for your funding. Okay. So in writing your cold email to professors, you are trying to create a rapport with the professor to know if they have a research that they are working on and you want to contribute to it, or you want them to fund you, or you want to work with them as a research assistant. You need to write emails to them. The first, usually the emails are usually not just me. From this link I placed here, I will also put it in the comment section when I'm done. So from this link, you can read it and find out that this is actually what these two schools suggested that you should do. That's what I'm trying to show you. That whenever you're writing to professors, you should introduce yourself, then create a rapport. How do you create a rapport between you and the professor? You need to show the professor that you know what they are doing, you know what they are working on, and you've read through their works. Okay, that will show them that you are not just forwarding the email to, how people forward things that you didn't need in your life. They just forward it to you. So you don't create one email and forward to 30 professors because you are tired. So you need to create that rapport between you and the professor. So you need to tell the professors their research that you've read and how that research has helped you. Okay, then you talk about yourself. You talk about your research experience and how that your experience aligned with what they're doing. If it didn't align, you need to show a way that what you've done encourage you to go further to this new level. For instance, if you've been all your life, you've been in seismic data analysis, but now you want to look at maybe data analytics. So your experience in seismic data analysis now propelled you to look at the data science aspects of data visualization or characterization or whatever name you want to give it. Okay, so you need to create a sense of connection, a nexus between what you've done and what you want to do. Then show them that you are prepared. That preparation could be your undergraduates. You can't jump into, let's say, computer engineering when you just did anatomy, or when you just did not even anatomy is closer, when you just did anthropology or you did literature in English. So there is a great disconnection between the two. So to actually get people that can fund you, a professor that can fund you or work with, you need to show that you have a good undergraduate training within that field that they are working on. Okay, and this is just a crude email that I sent those days, and you need to include your CV and your transcripts. This will help the professor to review them and see what you've got. All right. I think actually reviewing each and every one of those writing statements and samples is beyond just this 30 minutes conversation. So I would prefer we ask questions, then go through the slides I have, the links I have here, and probably talk after that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ifeanyi, for that elaborate and straight to the point presentation that you just delivered. For those who are just joining us, I want to once again welcome you to our Nape YP Career Development Workshop for 2023. And we're supposed to have 3 different workshops. We started last week, Saturday, where we had Mr. Dr. Wasiu Odufison F. Nape talk to everyone on the call about crafting a compelling CV or resume that stands out from the crowd. And then today, we just finished listening to Ifeanyi Eze, who had just spoken to us about how to write your way in getting admissions, scholarships, and grants in any field. Also, last week we had like a panelist session where we had Mr. Bashiru Koledoye FNAPE, the MD of Damatan, Mr. Victor Ogumola, who is a geoscientist with Exxon, and then the founder of Ice Builder, a founder of Ice Scholar Initiative, and Mr. Abiodun Adesanya FNAPE, the MD of DigiConnect. Later on, I'm going to make some announcements as to future programs we will be having. But at first, question. So I would ask Tobechuku to please unmute and then ask your question.
Thank you so much, Sheon, and thank you, Ifeanyi, for your presentation. It was very, very insightful. So my question is, again, because we're applying to schools, they want to, especially for research, they want to see past research you've done. If you've not done any past research apart from like undergraduate thesis or projects, what do you do? And especially when you're writing CVs, we're supposed to write academic CVs, which again should include our research work. So if you have just one, that undergraduate thesis, and that one self, you're not even really sure of it, how do you go about the whole thing? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That boils down to the competition we are talking about. You need to create that rapport with the professor, because I think you're asking about US now. Most schools in US, the professors are the ones that will determine who they want to work with. Okay, so when you email the professors and they could invite you to talk, and most professors know you are coming from Africa, you really don't have enough equipment and time to do those mind-blowing research. They just need to know that you have the ability to do research and you've done something. That could include going to field trip. They can appreciate that you went for field trip and you reported your data and you did your final year project well. I myself, I didn't have any research. It was just my final year project and some IBA experience, which is not even related to what I'm doing. So they just need to know that you are promising, you are someone who can deliver when they train you, because grad school is all about training you to become a researcher. It's not really you have to be a researcher already in the field, but you need to be promising, someone who have the capacity to be trained. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That answered the question.
You're welcome.
All right. So I think the question I would want to ask Ifeanyi, I know you kind of touched on it when you started your presentation. I know there are several write-ups that most of these schools will always want to ask for. So there's the personal statement, there's statement of purpose, there's letter of motivation. What exactly are the differences? Just
okay.
If you can just quickly touch on them.
Letter of motivation and SOP are usually they're almost the same. What's your intent for pursuing this particular research you want to do? What is driving you? So you need to talk about, for instance, you want to work on maybe geospatial analysis for groundwater survey, or you want to integrate AI in reservoir characterization. That is your main purpose. Then you talk about the bigger picture. You are looking at it because it takes a lot of time for people who are doing the normal reservoir characterization to come up with the data, and you want to automate it or you want to make it faster. Okay, it's about your purpose of going for the research. Why personal statement is about your personal life, what you've been through and the challenges you passed through and how you could surmount them. Yeah. That's for personal statement. Usually, you just need to be careful the things you write in personal statements. Some like this link I'm going to place here, they say if you have mental issue, you may not need to say it because it may reduce your chances of getting admitted. I mean, nobody wants to work with weary. So you need to be sensitive in things you put out as personal experiences, and don't overemphasize your poverty, because it's always a red flag. It comes out as complainant or someone who is just, so yeah, talk about you. You are coming from a humble background, bruh. You can't fund yourself. Then talk about your potential, your promises. Yeah. So that's the difference basically.
All right, thanks for the elaboration, Ifeanyi. So I would ask, Siloko, are you the one behind that name? So unmute and then ask your question.
Yes, thank you very much, Sheung. Mr. Ifeanyi, thank you so much for this lecture. It's been really insightful. I just wanted to ask, I mean, most of these postgraduate opportunities, they require a lot of exams, like Sheung was saying, and some of these exams could be very expensive, like, your GRE, your IELTS. So I want to also ask, from your own personal experience, did you have to go through GRE, IELTS, and all of that? And if you did, or if you did not go through it, how important is it? You have been in the system, like, is it very, very compulsory that you have to like do your GRE and all of that? Just asking from your own experience as well.
During COVID, there was a great, I would say, campaign or protest from schools to scrap GRE. Harvard currently do not require GRE. Harvard, even Princeton, okay, Stanford, Yale, like the top of the top schools don't even request GRE. Duke University, they don't. And most schools and most programs within geoscience don't require GRE. So your concentration should be to look for those schools that don't require GRE to save your money. I didn't take GRE and I didn't take IELTS. I came from English country and I've been speaking English for the past, still, though I still make mistake between L and R, but I still speak English. So why should I write the exam? So I look for schools that waive English language test for Nigerians. And there are a lot of them. You can't finish them before you get what you want. Okay. Louisiana State, like a lot of school, Florida is not requesting it. Yeah, the big schools, even California Institute of Technology is not requesting that. California, University of California at Santa Barbara is not requesting that. So you just need to look for those schools so that you can save your money, because application and all those things takes lots of money. And you keep some people keep on writing and gathering all of them. That may take you a lot of time. I didn't write them. And but if you have them, good. But some schools like University of South Carolina will say don't even include your GRE. Even if you have it, don't include it. But you can still have some schools that request it, like University of Arizona is still saying you must write GRE and you must write TOEFL. Okay, but look for those schools that won't request it. There are many. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm so sorry. I have a follow-up question. I'm so sorry, Mr. Sheung.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
Yes. So yes, as regards writing cold emails and all of that. So in a scenario where you've written cold emails and you didn't get a response from a potential maybe supervisors or something like that, and is it advisable to go ahead and still apply for the admission, knowing fully well, if you look at the admission requirements, it's possible you can actually get the admission if you apply. But I mean, how the role of the potential supervisor to secure it, is it a compulsory factor before you actually apply for some of these things?
Okay, it depends on the school. Some schools will say it is compulsory for you to secure a potential supervisor, or you should at least identify one of their faculty members who is interested in the same thing you are interested in. You can't be interested in cybersecurity for geospatial analysis, or you want to look at cybersecurity when everybody in the department is sedimentology. So who will train you? So they need to have, you need to identify one person in the department who is working on the same thing you want to work with in most schools, because you will include them in your writing. The writing aspects, I don't know, it's beyond what like the time we have for conversation, because when you are writing, you need to highlight the name of the professors you want to work with. For instance, you want to go to Tulane University and you've spoken to, let's say, Professor Nicole, and Professor Nicole is working on gravity method for Bayesian analysis. Okay, and you've talked with Professor Nicole, and Professor Nicole didn't respond to your email. If you go ahead and apply, tell them that the research experience or the research that Professor Nicole is doing align with your own research. And when you highlight those professors, usually in most schools' website, they say that if you highlight the names of those professors, they are going to send your application to them to review, because it's still that same professor you are going to work with. That's how it works. But most times, I would say if you didn't receive response, because I think cold email is one of the hardest and most difficult aspects of this application, because green lights, but I've written a lot of code emails. So you need to write, like how I do it on weekends, I schedule like 10. Okay, every week, schedule, send them. Okay, so you can't finish, there are over 3,000 schools in US. You can't finish like 500 before your destiny helper will get you. Okay, so I prefer in getting the best green lights. Nevertheless, you can get green light and they'll still reject you. For instance, my pain with Louisiana State, the professor say, oh, wonderful. I love your research. Go ahead and apply. I will review your application. And he never did. And they gave me rejection. So even if you have professor, it's still not a guarantee, but it increases your chance.
All right. Siluka,
Thank you very much, sir.
Fine. Okay.
Yes,
That's fine.
thank you.
Yeah, so but before I take Samuel Popo's last question in the chat box, I would quickly want to take from Ugochukwu, AGK, and Kingsley. So Ugochukwu, can you unmute and then ask your question?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ifeanyi, for the presentation. My question is, in Nigeria here, we use, most of our schools, we use the 5.0 CGPA scale. And like in America, I think they use 4.0. So how are you able to convert yours to 4.0 scale?
The best way to do that is to use a free GPA calculator from WES. So WES is WES, World Educational Service. They have a free GPA conversion tool on their website. So type IGPA from WES, okay? When you type it on Google, you search, you impute those your transcripts grades, okay? Maybe you got Bayesian analysis A, aeromagnetic method B. Just input all those grades. It will compute it and give it to you, the US equivalence in your email. They will send it to your email. So you can just use that particular one. Some people say you should convert it like direct conversion, like, maybe you got 3.8 out of 5.0. Then you do that. If 3.0 is equal to this, then you convert, divide by 4.0. No, if you use that method, your GP will be very, very low, because our scale and their scale is different. So doing a direct average from a weighted average, that is statistically difference from what you want to do. So it will give you a wrong answer. You'll be using the wrong GPA. So use that worst GPA because it's going to weight every of those GPA, every of those grades, then give you the exact conversion in 4.5.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so I would ask AGK, can you unmute and then ask your question?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity and thank you to Ifeanyi Eze. That was really far-reaching. I really enjoyed the presentation. So my question is this: in terms of transition, what would be your advice for someone who has been, say for example, first degree has been in geophysics, who has been steady and consistent in an area of geoscience? Let's say, for instance, maybe seismics from undergraduate up to the master's level and now to the PhD. Will you advise a swift change to areas like, let me say, geoinformatics and geography? How will that come, especially in the academic world?
I think it depends on them and what they want to do. If they wish to deviate to geoinformatics issue, they should have reasons for that. They should have enough reasons. But if it would be better, I think, to continue with the field that if you've gotten to master's and PhD level in a particular field, I think it's better to just continue there, then try to integrate, just like what I said, interdisciplinary. Try to integrate aspects of geoinformatics that you want into geophysics. Okay, so I think that will be better because switching to a new field entirely will require you to do a lot of other struggles, except you are willing to do it. Like, it depends on personal effort, or maybe you are looking at the job prospects, because the job prospect in, let's say, geo AI, machine learning for geospatial analysis and geoinformatics is much, much, much more than just sedimentology, except you work in the oil company. So apart from that, I don't know, maybe just you open a company and you are looking for sedimentologists to work for you. So it's hard. So more of service companies and companies that are in IT and tech, they need people that have skills in data science, in machine learning. So maybe that's what you are considering. Then it's good. But if it's for academic purpose, I think it's better you stay with geophysics, then integrates computer science to that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, because my interest so much lies about someone who already have an academic background and, at that PhD level, looking at job prospects after the program. We all know the whole possibilities that come with tech, especially AI and machine learning, how to actually bring it to bear and still stay relevant. All right,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Yeah, what I said there is always look at how to be interdisciplinary then, and how to use computer at like a tool, because computer science is a tool. You can use it for biogeography, you can bring it to geophysics. It's just like my program in geography, but I'm using geophysics to do my mapping. I'm doing electrical resistivity, I'm using remote sensing to do my mapping. So you just have to integrate those tools.
All right, thank you very much.
All right. Ugochukwu, it seemed like you didn't finish initially. Do you want to conclude?
Okay, I got the information. All right.
Okay, thank you. So I would call on, yeah, you're welcome. So I would call on Kingsley. Kingsley, can you unmute? I know you already mentioned in the chat box that you have a question. So unmute and then ask your question.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. I hope I'm being heard by you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, thank you, the moderator. Thank you, Ifeanyi Eze, for that fine presentation. I entered midway, but a lot of information before us right now, before me. I'm also in the academia too. I'm into academics, lecturing at the moment. I did my PhD. So I just want to find out some information. Um, my background is geophysics. Do my master's, groundwater work, and pollution, my PhD, environmental geophysics. So your focus, I've not done much work on seismic and reservoir characterization, though took some courses and the rest. But now the question is this. I discovered that you're talking about US, and so on. Fine. But do you also have some contact in Canada that offers? Because if I want to come in right now, I'm looking at postdoctorate. Does this information apply to those who already have PhD? Can they also use information to apply for maybe a professor who has funds, an area which I want to transit into? Because I, for one, we don't want to go into groundwater studies and pollution, maybe geospatial and mapping and so on and so forth. So is it possible? Hello. Okay, so hello. Okay, so my question is it possible for Wayne to transit myself? Does this information apply to postdoctorates, those who already have their PhD? One. Two, I want to find out how do you search for those professors who may have funds for research purpose? That is the two questions I want you to quickly talk on about. Or if you have, thirdly, if you have any contact in Canada schools, you can also let us know too, so we can try our hands. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The information I shared here can be applied across. How to search for postdoc position is the same way undergraduates and graduates who are looking for PhD will search. The only way to know a professor that have funding, it can be many ways. Let me type in the comment section. You can go to AGU, American Geophysical Union, and look at the career section, agu.org. Okay, go to American Geophysical Union, look at the career section, and using the filter, you can choose postdoc positions. Okay, then when you click on it, people who advertise their postdoc positions will be there. You can also use aag.org. That is if you are in geography, American Association of Geographers. You can also go to the section for careers and look for postdoc positions. But the truth of the matter is that if you wait for those people to bring it there, then it is late. The better way and proactive way is to send them emails. Okay, send them emails. It is difficult. It is difficult and it is competitive. In that sense, it means that you need to be proactive. List out top universities in Canada, like 15 of them, and go through their websites, look at the professors. They usually call them faculty, okay, in US and Canada. Look at those professors, list out like 5 schools you want to send cold emails. When you exhaust that 5 schools, you look for other schools because that's the only way to do that. You send them an email. I saw what you are doing. I saw what you are doing. This is my background. I have PhD in environmental toxicology or environmental geophysics. And this is what you yourself, it's like we have something in common. I want to know the postdoc opportunities in your lab and how we can work together. Most schools that like Rice University, University of Texas at Austin, they have a lot of postdoc positions because when I was going through their page, I saw those things. Okay, so you need to do that research by yourself, which is difficult. Okay, and I don't offer any link to Canada as it were because it is based on personal effort. If it's admission, it is something like everybody can write, and if you are competitive, you get. But for postdoc, it has to be on a personal basis, and those professors need to speak with you, see your research, see things you've done, and that will be good. And also Twitter. Also, Twitter is also good. If you just use some keywords, postdoc in geophysics or something, you search it, you can see professors in that field that are on Twitter. Then you can follow them. If their inboxes are open, you can tweet them or comment on their tweets, because they usually advertise those things on Twitter. So someone who is looking for that need to be proactive in looking for them. You really don't know professors that have funding. You just need to cold email them. That's why it's cold email. It's very cold. Okay, so for instance, I sent a cold email to a professor in a university in Tennessee. Okay, I sent email to the professor. He said, "Oh, what I'm working on is not related to what you want to do, but one of my colleagues is doing the same thing you want to do, and she worked on the same basin you want to work on. Kindly send email to her." That's how I sent email to her, and she said, "Okay, let's talk about it." And that's how it works. So you really may not know until you start searching. Okay, so start sending those emails. If they don't have, they may link you up. If they say they don't have, unfortunately, you may ask them, okay, can you link me to, maybe, do you know your friends who may have funding? Okay, so you just need to do those search and those digging. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I know there was another hand up, but let me quickly take Samuel Popola's question from the chat box, and it says, some schools request for WES evaluation. Can we ignore that as well?
If school requests WES evaluation, you have to do it. For instance, my school requests WES evaluation, but they didn't request GRE. They didn't request IELTS. So some schools will request some strange things from you. So you have to do it. I did WES evaluation, even though I had my bachelor's, because most WES evaluations are usually for people for HND and people who have a lot of carryovers and they want to remove them, because when you do WES evaluation, they will not use your carryover to evaluate your transcripts, which is also good for people who had low grade. Maybe you are dangling 2.2, that is very low, and you want to push it up a bit. Then if you do WES evaluation, they're not going to compute your GP using those F. They're going to ignore them, then use them when you've passed them. But in Nigeria, they will compute your GP using that F, then use that one you passed again. That will kill your GP entirely. So yeah, if the school requests for it, do it. If you don't have the money for that, look for other schools that will not request it.
All right. Thanks, Ifeanyi, for that response. So, Fashola, can you unmute yourself and then ask your question? Fashola Toib, I don't know if you're there, except that was
Hello, good
done
morning,
in
sir.
error. Oh, okay. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah,
Right.
thanks so much for the nice presentation. It really is helpful. For the organizer, thanks so much as well. Yeah, God bless. So my question is, so what are the opportunities in like a Middle East, like countries like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar? So like, are there opportunities there for fully funded scholarship? And is there any way someone can navigate him or herself to the country for masters or graduate internship or any other opportunity regarding the oil and gas industry? Thank you.
Okay, yes. Middle East is like a new bubbling land for funding, and man, those people have a lot of money and they give a lot of funding. Okay, but you need to write GRE for them. They don't waive it, so you need to write GRE if you want to go to maybe UAE, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia. They have a lot of funding. This school is currently open for recruitment. King Abdulaziz University, they have fully funded scholarship for those who are interested in geology and mineral geoscience or petroleum engineering. Okay, so there are a lot of opportunities in UAE. mostly people who apply for University of UAE or whatever, those schools within Abu Dhabi, Dubai, if it's a public school, they mostly fund their PhD and master students, but it's competitive, just the same way you go for US, it's still the same process, but in their own, because I used to live in Dubai and I wanted to do my master's there, then maybe use it to go for PhD in US. When I messaged those professors there, they said they don't need those emails. I need to apply and compete with every other person. So you find out that their own strategy is different. They don't want to be biased, I would say, but you have to apply, which is like a blind box. You don't know if you have opportunity to do that or not. So there are different scholarships. I didn't even mention that there are Stipendium Hungaricum for people who want to go to Hungary. There's that scholarship for people who want to go to Germany. The acceptance rate of that scholarship is 5%. So you find out that it's a hell lot of competition. There's Erasmus Mundus scholarship to study in Europe, a lot of them out there. Okay, so with 10% to 20% acceptance rates. So there's Mandela Rhodes scholarship to study in South Africa. There is Qatar government scholarship to study in Qatar for free. So yeah,
Wow.
so Middle East is open.
Wow. But sir, for the GRE, like I want to get a clear understanding. Like, what is the difference between the GRE and the TOEFL? Like, if I'm giving GRE, like, we there also request for TOEFL, or only GRE is okay?
Well, there are two different exams. GRE is graduate record exam. It's just like JAMB, okay, for you to gain admission for graduate studies. Why they request a TOEFL is test of English as a foreign language. They want to know if you know English, if you can speak English, if you can use English. Okay, it has nothing to do with your graduate record exam. Okay, so they want to know your ability to speak English.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. It doesn't seem like we have any other question. I think all of the questions have been responded to. Thank you so much, Ifeanyi. And before you go, let me call on Flora. I know she's on the call, to quickly give a vote of thanks. I mean, thank you so much, Ifeanyi. One of the things that stood out for me was you mentioning that fundings are not really for the poor, they are more for the promising. And I think that stuck to me, because a lot of people always believe that you need to have money to be able to, yes, you need some sort of financial input for your application. But again, people who are really promising are those that will definitely be considered. Thank you for mentioning that in your presentation. Flora, I don't know if you're on.
Yes, I am on. Can you hear me?
All right. Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. Thank you very much, Shehu. And also thank you so much, Mr. Ifeanyi Eze, for this wonderful presentation. I think we've learned so much. As Shehu has said, I think that's one of the key words that most of us are going to take out with, knowing that we seeking for funding, to go for our postgraduate studies is not really that we are poor, but because we are promising, and we feel that we can be invested in our education through those funds and those grants. So on behalf of Nape YP executives, on behalf of Nape YP community, on behalf of Nape as a whole, I want to say thank you so much for such a wonderful presentation. And if there's anybody on the call that would like Mr. Ifeanyi to work with them on as regards to their postgraduate writing or scholarship on writing, you can actually reach out to him, and we can maybe at least mentor one or two persons, to actually help them get their their preferred admission, to help to add value to them as a person, also to the community. So on behalf of the community, I want to say thank you very much for this presentation, and thank you so much, YPs, for actually attending. For the next week workshop, which is going to be the last workshop, the last webinar for the workshop, we're going to be looking at strategic communication, how to network and land the right opportunities. So I'm now taken by Mrs. Tuposo Afolayo. She's very, very good. It's going to be a very interactive section. I wouldn't want you to miss it for anything. So if you are someone that attends conferences, seminars, and you meet people a lot, and you're trying to hit the right opportunity instead of networking, that is a workshop or webinar you can afford to miss. So on behalf of on behalf of the executives and the community, I want to say a very big thank you to the guest speaker, Mr. Ifeanyi Eze, and to the YPs for taking out their time to attend this presentation. Thank you very much. Over to you, Sharon.
All right, thank you so much, Flora. And again, once again, let me join everyone in thanking you, Mr. Ifeanyi Eze, for this wonderful presentation that you have given. We really appreciate your presence and all of what you have shared to us. Thank you so much, Ifeanyi.
Thank you.
So like I said, we are at the Nape YP Career Development Workshops, where we have 3 different workshops that will cover non-technical skills that will aid in career success for geoscientists. And this is the second of the workshops. Flora just mentioned that the final workshop will be holding next week, Saturday. Let me try and move to that. The final workshop will be holding next week, Saturday, and it will be on strategic communications, how to network at conferences and technical events to sell yourself. And it will be given by Mrs. Tuposo Afolayo, who is a former publicity secretary of Nape and is a communication strategist. And as Flora has also said, you do not want to miss this opportunity. Again, there are several programs in the pipeline for members and for young professionals and for students generally. And another one of such will be next week Saturday. We'll be holding physically next week Saturday as well. And it's called the Nape YP Technical Workshop with the theme Repositioning the Young Professionals, Skills and Trainings for the Future Energy Dynamics. It will be holding in Warri, and several people have already started participating and registering. For those who are yet to register, I don't know if the registration is still on, but try as much as possible not to miss this opportunity if you're somewhere around and can attend the program. Another of such is a YP Technical Capacity Building, which will be a training on risk analysis and volumetrics of oil and gas industry, the essentials for young professionals. It will hold sometime in July, written on 7th and 8th, online via Microsoft Teams, and it will be delivered by exploration geoscientists in Shell in persons of Obobi Ome Onwuka and Debo Onilolobo. Again, well, there's always the buzz of data analytics, data here and there. So Nape YP has also decided to have a data analytics bootcamp for young professionals. And this will be given by Osasuye, who is a software developer and a geoscientist at Toloram Group. It would be talking on using structured query language, the Oracle SQL, which are essentials for young professionals, particularly in the oil and gas industry. And it will also be project-based. It will run for 4 weeks. That's 8 weekends, and it's 15,000 naira per participant. You can always reach out to any of the executives for more information. Then Mr. Nnameka, who is a production associate at Tesla, will be giving us a training on introduction to carbon capture, utilization, and storage sometime in October. And to conclude, I would want to encourage each and every one of you to please try and pay your dues. It's one of the ways to sustain the association, and it's one of the ways that also encourages the executives to come up with programs such as this to enrich our lives. And on that note, I'd want to once again thank Mr. Ifeanyi Eze and every single person for being present at this workshop, this career building and this career development workshop that we have just concluded. And on that note, I would say thank you and have a restful weekend. Sorry, Marietta Mba, can you unmute, and I don't know if you want to say anything.
Yes, Miss Flora made mention of those of us who are interested in having Mr. Ifeanyi coach us on graduate school application. How do we go about that, please?
All right. So easily, I would say you should reach out to her, but if you cannot, you can always send an email to the email address of the Nape YP, which is napeyoungprofessionals@gmail.com. Someone will definitely pick up your request and follow up with you.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you to the team and thank you to Mr. Ifeanyi.
Yeah, all right. You're welcome. All right. On that note, I would want to say goodbye and have a restful weekend.